Years ago, when I was still kind of anti-online beat leasing, I said some negative stuff about one of the top online producers, and he actually responded. I felt terrible about it, and since then I've apologized to him. We've spoken directly, and that's one of the many mistakes I made back when I was really closed-minded and reactive about the online producer marketplace. And now I'm seeing all of these 20 beats for $30 deals, and I'm seeing producers react negatively to those deals. What are you doing giving away 10 beats for free and 30 beats for $10 or whatever the deals are? They seem absolutely crazy. Some people might say these kinds of marketing practices are going to ruin the business of being a music producer. That's exactly how I felt 10 years ago when I saw these SoundClick stores advertising beat leases for $19.95, buy one get one free. It's happening again. When I was on Twitter being a jerk, and I said another producer's name that I shouldn't have because he was a producer who was licensing beats online, and I'm getting plaques and oh my god, I'm so cool. In my head, producers who were licensing beats online didn't have an impact on music production, didn't have much of a brand identity, and definitely weren't making a living off these 3-for-1 $2.99 beat licenses. And little did I know, because I was stupid, I was dead wrong. This producer that I insulted was way more artistically influential than I've been, and far more financially successful than I've been as well. Now, I don't want to emphasize the financial aspect of production. Money isn't everything. And especially when I start talking about the topic of this video, which is ClickFunnels, I want to make it clear that advertising beats online, selling beats online, investing money into marketing your beats. This is something I did after having been a producer for really long time. I mean, I started making beats when I was 14. I didn't get a placement until about 10 years after that, a major placement. Now, obviously, there are way more opportunities to just jump right into the online beat licensing space. You can make your first beat on Monday, and on Tuesday, have it online available for sale. That's fine, it might sell. You might be a prodigy, you might be a musical genius. But if your focus is solely on making money from those beats, you're gonna get really frustrated really soon, and you're probably, I shouldn't say it's guaranteed, but you're probably more likely to compromise your musical sensibilities and your morals just to make those sales. And it doesn't matter if you were doing this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or you're gonna start tomorrow. That's just the nature of fixating on the financial aspect of any creative endeavor, whether it's songwriting, whether it's visual art, whether it's graphic design, or whether it's producing beats. It doesn't matter if you're using BeatStars, it doesn't matter if you're using ClickFunnels, it doesn't matter if you're using Facebook Ads Manager, it doesn't matter if you're using Google AdWords as your advertising platform, and if you're motivated by greed. The way you practice your business is going to reflect that. So in other words, get good at the music, fall in love with the music first. Don't expect to suddenly just make $1 million tomorrow because you made a couple beats. I talk to people all the time who are frustrated that they're not selling beats. They ask me, what am I doing wrong? I say, how long have you been doing this? It's like 6 months, a year, 2 years. You know what I mean? It takes time. But back to the finances, seeing producers who have generated $1 million off of a single platform is really difficult to ignore. So when I heard about this new thing called ClickFunnels from Gabe at Legion Beats, I laughed because ClickFunnels funnel marketing isn't a new concept at all. It's been going on forever. It's just that now Legion Beats, they've created a template specifically for producers to sell beats using that funnel method in a way that's really efficient and I guess user-friendly to a producer who might not have experience using ClickFunnels or using any kind of funnel marketing. So after the whole, me being anti-beat licensing and then reflecting on that era of my life and seeing what a failure that was and seeing what a disservice I did to myself by reacting and saying, no, I'm never gonna do that. Musically, it was stupid, right? Why be anti-online beat sales when everybody's online, and all the rappers that were licensing beats online 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, not all of them, but many of them have become big artists. And so there's really no reason for me to have drawn a line between, the industry and legitimate artists and, what producers are doing online. And so, clearly I'm licensing beats online left and right now. But had I started sooner, God, my life would be very different right now. I talked about this on the podcast with Lo-Fi.
These are the people who were telling me that I needed to start selling beats in 2014, 2015, 2016. Had I listened to them by that time, my entire life, financially at least, would look so different.
He said the same thing. And so when I see these new methods of advertising and marketing producers' beats, when I see a Facebook ad that says, 10 free beats for profit, I feel a migraine coming on and my eye starts twitching. But that's the same way I felt about type beats on SoundClick years ago, a decade ago. And I reacted back then and said, no, I'm going to resist this. I'm not going to learn about this. I'm going to reject that entire community. And that was a mistake. I'm not going to do that now. And so by, some stroke of luck, on the Music Entrepreneur Club tour, the very first tour I went on, we're in Berkeley, California. We run into Gabe from Legion Beats. He talks to me. He says he wants to explain this whole, method of marketing beats that I might be interested in. Because I made a promise to myself to not squander an opportunity just because maybe it felt uncomfortable at the moment, I contacted Gabe. I learned a lot from him. I had long conversations with him. I think there are talented producers out there who can benefit from this, who have good music, who have their heads and their hearts in the right place. And it's just another advertising platform like Instagram ads, like BeatStars promotion, like AdWords, and like YouTube or any other platform that producers are using to making a living doing what they love. So Gabe talked to my my producer mentorship program, Beat Club, which you can join at musicentrepreneur.com. Here's the conversation that we had. This is a conversation from months ago. He's talked since on Producer Grind and on a bunch of other podcasts. So I do appreciate him coming to my club early on and talking to the producers that are members.
It's an honor to be on here. I'm such a huge fan of you personally and what you guys are doing with MEC. You and Kato and Dame. I'm so dope to finally, meet you guys in person at that tour.
You're seeing these funnels, and before talking about funnels, the thing that stands out to producers is these bundles, and you're referring to something similar to what I'm alluding to. So for the longest time, and very few producers are doing this, but I was seeing that guy Anno Domini offering 100 beats for $20 or whatever it was, and that's the type of thing that is making producers cringe right now. They hate it. Oh my God, how can you do this? That guy Anno Domini generated $1 million. He's a millionaire. He won. What's that award that you win when you've?
Yeah. So using sales funnels, ClickFunnels has something called the 2 Comma Club Award, which means you generated over $1 million in sales using funnels, which is actually something that I just got about 2 weeks ago. So both me and Anno Domini are, as far as I know, the only 2 producers to have that 2 Comma Club for generating over $1 million in sales.
Oh man, congratulations. I didn't know that.
Thank you so much.
Right. So you've generated $1 million too. I'll be damned. All right. So the same way that I reacted when I saw producers selling beats for $19.99 online was kind of the same way a lot of people are now reacting to seeing you or Anno Domini selling the beat deals. Yeah. Tell me what the concept of these deals are and why and how they're so effective. Because I think a lot of people's first instinct is to resist and this knee-jerk reaction. No, I can't sell 5 beats for $5, 10 beats for 10. How does that work? Why does it work?
Yeah, no, and I get the concerns. I mean, okay, so there's a few things. So for one thing, when I've done those types of promotions in the past, I'll get so many comments from producers that are like, "You're what's wrong with music today. You're ruining it for everybody. How are you expecting to make any money, let alone anybody else is going to make any money?" So what happens is people see, when you put together a true marketing campaign, what people see on the surface is like the tip of the iceberg. They don't see the rest of the iceberg, right? So there's a lot more going on. So that's one thing. So it's part of a whole process. That's kind of that whole sales funnel process, right? So that's part of it. And another thing too, that's, it's interesting to me is like, the music industry shifted, right? Where it was like, people used to buy albums, now they don't, and the labels resisted it, for so long. And so because they were so far behind, they ended up being hurt even more than they had to be, right? I have friends who have been producing for 20 years and, for a long time really resisted the online thing because it was like, well, same thing like you said, well, I sell beats for $2,000. I'm not going to sell it for $20. Like, you are ruining the game by, all you producers who are selling beats for $50, $100 for a non-exclusive license, you ruined production. You guys are ruining the game, right? So it's funny to me, every time there's an evolution, everybody's mad, right? Instead of being like, oh, maybe I should be a part of this evolution and not be mad at it. Maybe I should look at the guys who made $1 million and figure out how they did that instead of making assumptions about like, this person is ruining me.
I would imagine that they'd be surprised to know that you generated $1 million doing that. I'm still, nowadays, I think it's common knowledge, but I'm surprised to find out that people are shocked when there are producers just using BeatStars that are making 6 figures a year.
Totally.
And that's 6 figures. I mean, I can name 10 right now that are doing that. It's just this idea where you want to resist because you think that it's cheapening your art, but at the same time, you want to make a living doing what you love.
Yeah, and I should say, and also learn the process. If everybody, like, here's the thing, that particular, like, we've done a deal where it's 100 beats for $17 or whatever. We've done that type of deal. That is not year-round what we do at all times. Hey, anytime you want, you can get 100 beats for $17. That's going to make it. That is going to water down things, right? So you have to do it in a very specific way. For one thing, that's something that we do once a year. We have this whole buildup that literally takes months to kind of get to and all this stuff. And not only that, once they see that offer, they can get those, let's say 100 beats for $17, but then there's this whole process they go through where they're offered different things, right? So in the end, they could end up, that one customer could spend $500, and it's not a trick. Everything is a great deal along the way, but they're given different offers in a specific way. So 2 things, we don't do that year round. Another thing, if you're going to set something like that up, you have to understand the rest of the iceberg, not just the tip. Otherwise, yeah, you're not going to make any money. So that would be my warnings as far as that goes. Make sure you understand the process before you just cut your prices. That's not what we're doing.
And just to be clear, these marketing principles have been used for decades on the internet and through other channels, I guess. I think television ads, a lot of those made for TV ads include elements of the funnel in a way. Mail order too. And so this isn't just something that's new that you're doing. These are tried and true marketing methods, right?
Absolutely. It comes from something called direct response marketing, which is, that was like the old school thing. Would be like, you get a letter in the mail and then, it kind of take you through this process. And then now, it's super common in all these different industries that are making so much money online. It's just, producers are a little behind, they're for the most part not familiar with a lot of this stuff with sales funnels. I did, just as another example, when I do offers, a lot of times I'll have affiliates, and affiliate marketing is something where somebody else can promote your product and then they get a certain percentage of referred sales. So like, you would get a link that's your own unique link, and if people click that link, you send your customers over to my offer. If they buy it, you get 50% of the money that they spent, right? And this is something that's like super common, works well in other industries, has for years. And actually, as part of like that $200,000 one, I sent out about $50,000 in affiliate earnings. So like, people made a bunch of money. It's not just me. But like, there was also a lot of producers who were super confused and were kind of like angry about it because they didn't understand the concept. And it's like, these are relatively basic concepts and things that are working in other industries. It's just as producers, we're a little slow to catch up, but hopefully, with people like you out here, educating people, they'll catch up, and that way we can evolve as a community and as a industry.
So before we go into the specifics of ClickFunnels, let's just focus on what we're familiar with. What are some major mistakes? Because you've had a lot of experience running just ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, AdWords. What are some major mistakes that either you've made or you've seen others make?
Yeah, so for me personally, the thing that I had trouble getting to work, that I think is more of a challenge, and some people have done a better job at this, is sending that traffic directly to a sale, meaning like directly to, let's say, your beat store or something for like a regular beat lease. In my experience, it's been really hard for me to be profitable doing that. And I think there's a couple things in mind, like when you want somebody to click off of an ad, it's so much harder. It's hard to get them to click on it for anything, right? They're scrolling through Facebook, right? They're like taking a dump, whatever. They're scrolling through Instagram, like they're just scrolling through. They're trying to look at, what you just posted. They're trying to find some funny memes, whatever. Like for them to actually click on anything is really hard. So if you're trying to get them to click on something where you're saying, hey, buy this thing, that's really hard too, right? So if you can offer them something for free, that's what's worked better. So as far as mistakes, like I used to try to just send people to like, hey, buy this thing. And that was the ad. And now it's more like, hey, do you want to opt into my list? You'll get some free beats or something. And now I can build that relationship. I can build rapport. I can get that potential customer to know me, to like me, to trust me, and then say like, hey, do you want to buy this thing?
So say you were starting from zero right now. You had no pixel data, you had no customer files, nothing that you could input to any of these marketing platforms. Everything's a cold audience. What would your strategy be? What would your first Facebook ad look like? How would you configure that if you wanted to start planting seeds of eventually selling beats to these people?
Yeah, so as far as audience, and I should mention, I know Facebook ads really well. I don't know Google AdWords like at all. So I'm just going to speak as far as Facebook and Instagram ads. And by the way, I recommend, for anybody watching this is like, do Facebook and Instagram ads right now. It's the thing that works the best. So just don't worry about the other ones. Just do that.
AdWords is rough right now.
Yeah, that's been my experience. That's what I've kind of seen. So as far as audiences, the way that I look at audiences on Facebook is there's basically 3 types, and there's sort of subdivisions of each. And like each one is kind of more powerful than the next. And so depending on where you are, you kind of need to start with, one or the other. So like the first one is interest-based audiences. So this is where you go onto Facebook and you say, hey, I'm going to try to guess what my potential customer might be interested in. Maybe they're a rapper, so maybe they're male, maybe they're between, 17 and 30 or 40. Maybe they live in the United States. Maybe they're interested in world star hip hop, or they're interested in whatever, and that's sort of the first level, right? And that alone is super powerful, and that can get you pretty far. But that's like the first step. And that's where you have to start, because there's no other option. That's just where you need to start. Like you said, if you were starting from scratch, you don't have any pixel data, anything like that, that's where you start. Then the second layer is when you actually have your custom audiences. And so these are people that have interacted with you in one way or another. And there's sort of actually 3 subdivisions of this. So like one is like your pixel data. So the Facebook pixel is this little snippet of code that you get from Facebook, and you paste it into your website, into your BeatStars page, into your funnel, like anywhere that you can paste some code, you paste it in there. And what it does is Facebook now keeps track of everybody who's been to that, let's say your BeatStars store. Facebook now keeps track of them. They've been pixeled. That's the term for it. And now that you have that, you can now run ads back to those people, right? They're more of a warm audience or a hot audience because they know who you are. So one of the custom audiences is pixel data. Another type of custom audience is your engagement audiences. So these are the people that have in some way, shape, or form engaged with your Facebook page, your Instagram page, or videos that you posted. So they might have liked a post, commented on a post, watched a video, something like that. So now you've got those people as well, right? And then the third type of custom audience is your lists. And so this is where you can, you get people on your email list. Maybe you're using MailChimp or, whatever you're using. You export that list and then you upload it to Facebook, and Facebook is going to say, okay, cool. You just uploaded these, 100 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people. We're going to now match everyone who signed up with Facebook with that same email. We're going to find those people. So now we know who those people are on Facebook. And now again, we can run ads to those. So now those are like the 3 types of custom audiences. And then there's one more layer, which is where it gets super, super powerful, which is called a lookalike audience. And that's where you take any of those custom audiences, whether if it's the list, whether if it's the pixel, or your engagement audiences. And now this is where you tell Facebook, hey, here's these whatever number, 10,000 people who have been to my beat store. And you know that because I've got the pixel installed and they've been there. I want you to find the 1% of people in the United States that look most like these people. And it's insane how well this works. Facebook, it's kind of scary, honestly. Like, they know so much about us. They know, basic demographics, age, gender, whatever, but they know like our habits, where we click online, what we tend to do, if we tend to buy, what our income, like, it's insane what they know. And so once you have that audience of people who have engaged with you, have been pixeled, are on your list, and you tell Facebook, find me people like this, now you can all of a sudden scale and show your ad to, 1 million people that are pretty likely to be interested in what you're selling.
So to piggyback off of that conversation, what kind of budgets would you suggest for those kinds of ads when you're just starting out?
So, it always comes down to, like, with advertising, well, actually with anything, it's going to be like time and money, right? Like, what do you have more to invest? So I tell people, like, if you have 0 money to invest, like, you just can't start with Facebook ads. So you might start with other techniques, right? Whether if it's, I don't know if we can get into it, but, reaching out to people individually, and there's a bunch of ways to do that, and, putting out content, whatever. So if you are ready to get into Facebook ads, and also just to back up a little bit too, sometimes I say Facebook ads and people are like, first of all, they think their audience isn't on Facebook, which they are. There's, I think, 2 billion people on Facebook, something like that. But when we say Facebook ads, Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook, he owns Instagram, he owns WhatsApp. He's got something called the Audience Network, which is, somebody just said 2.3 billion active users on Facebook. There you go. So just on Facebook alone, he's got 2.3 billion active users. He's also got Facebook Messenger. That app, if somebody could look this up, I believe there's more downloads of the Facebook Messenger app than the Facebook app itself. There's also something called the Audience Network, which is like basically the rest of the internet. So if you give Mark Zuckerberg some money, he'll get your ad in front of everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, all these places. So we're saying Facebook ads as a shorthand, but we mean everywhere. So sorry, I got off on a tangent. I actually forgot what the original question was.
We were talking about budgets. Budgets,
yeah. So you got to spend some money. So, I would say for each ad set, you probably, like, the bare minimum would probably be about $5 a day. I'd say that's like your minimum, because the whole thing is Facebook ads are an auction, meaning you're bidding against other people to show up in those places, to show up in the Facebook feed, to show up in the Instagram feed, to show up in all those places that we mentioned. And so if somebody else is outbidding you, then you're not going to get you're either not going to get shown at all, or they're going to show you to less valuable customers. Because, first of all, somebody like me, like, I'm spending a lot for a producer, I'm spending a lot of money on Facebook ads. So now you're going up against me, but more importantly, you're going up against brands and businesses that are spending hundreds of $1,000s a month. So you need to be able to compete. So I'd say, long story short, $5 per ad set per day would probably be like my bare minimum that I'd say. If you can't do that, you might want to start with the things that take more time first, get a little money, and then be ready to invest, some money into Facebook ads.
Okay, cool. So now let's talk about the funnel, because we've brought that term up a lot. What exactly is a sales funnel? Like, let's start with that.
Yeah, for sure. So a sales funnel to me is really just the process of taking a potential customer on the journey from not knowing who you are all the way to loving you, buying from you, and continuing to buy from you. So, like, what are all those steps in between, right? So in a way, everybody has a sales funnel, whether if you have one on purpose or if you have a good one or not, that's a whole nother thing. But usually what people are talking about is a type of web page that is very specific, that's taking that customer through that journey in a very controlled way. So, like, if you think about a traditional website, let's say somebody goes to that website, there's a menu, there's a bunch of different places you can click. There's links to all the social media. There's a bunch of stuff, right? So people go to this website, they can see all these different things. There's different places they can click. There's a bunch of actions they could take. The new version of that is a sales funnel, is a funnel. And so with a funnel, each page basically has exactly one call to action, where on this page, basically the person who's on that page can do one thing, and they can either do that thing or they can leave. And so what happens is that you really you control that customer journey. So now it becomes like the difference between like, having somebody just like walk in and I don't know, help them, and try to, like walk into a Costco and just be like, I don't even know what I'm trying to get here. I'm confused. To having somebody like greet you at the door, be like, hey, what's up, man? Like, here's what you're looking for. This is the first thing you're going to need. Cool. Let me just hook you up with that. Great. Now here's the next thing you need. Now here's the next thing you're going to need. And doing that through a series of pages that each kind of serve that function. I don't know. Does that make any sense? Am I explaining that
well? Anybody?
Maybe.
I'm Big Shot Beat says, yep.
Okay, cool. I'll take it.
Okay, cool. So, and I've noticed with your ads, you personalize them. So it's not just that you're just saying, hey, get beats here. It's that there's a video of you and you're talking directly to the viewer. You're introducing yourself. It feels like you're having a conversation with them. You're explaining what you do, what you can do for them, what they can do for themselves. How important is that?
Super, super important. It's the whole concept of a personal brand, right? It's what Gary Vee is doing. It's what you're doing. It's what Cato's doing. It's essential if you want to have a successful business, or at least it's a shortcut that you probably can't afford not to use, which is people don't really want to do business with a logo, right? They want to do business with a person. Just like the analogy before of like walking to, like, wouldn't you rather have somebody like meet you, show you around, whatever? Like that's sort of I don't know if that's the best analogy, but the point is like people want to know who they're working with, and that way they're going to trust you. And it becomes not just about the product itself. Of course, the product's got to be good, right? Your beats have to be good. If you're offering other services, they have to be good. Like that's super, super important. But they also need to have some kind of bond with you. And that's going to help them want to go to you instead of somebody else. And why they're going to trust you instead of, like, if you just see an ad that says, buy some beats, compared to an ad that says, hey, what's up? My name's Gabe. It's good to meet you. Here's a little information about me. Here's maybe why you could see me as somebody you can trust, as an authority. I've accomplished these things, whatever. And I shouldn't even say that, because I don't want people to think if they don't have big accomplishments, it's not going to work. It's more about just introducing who you are, your story. People connect to people, and that's what they're going to end up, that's what's going to turn them into a customer.
Another thing that we spoke about, I think when you and I were talking privately, was using this kind of long form text-based ads that were more just, I guess, stories. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, so this was something. So I've tried a bunch of different types of ads, but this is something that I started doing kind of recently that's been working really well. Which is this: anytime I'm doing any kind of campaign, like I've got a launch or anything like that, I want to storyboard it. Meaning I want to kind of write it out. Like, what's the story? Like, we did a launch not too long ago, just a couple weeks ago, where sort of the story was, hey, we just moved into this new studio. Here, we just made some new beats in this new studio, and you can get these beats now at a discount. Right. And so now that becomes this whole storyline. It's not, when I say story, you're not making something up, right? It's something true, but that story is the thing that's going to drive everything else. So now the emails that are going out throughout that week of that launch are telling that story, or telling different aspects of that story. And a lot of times those emails, for me, I tend to write kind of long emails because I want to work those stories in, where I'm talking about, hey, this is what this new studio means to me. This is what it can mean to you, writing out this whole long thing. And so something that I tried not too long ago was like, what if I took that whole email, that whole long written out story, and use that as an ad? Like, just have a picture where it's, maybe it's just a picture of me in the studio, right?
And then it's this whole long thing where it's telling this long form story that ties into what I'm selling. So I'm still selling something. I'm giving them a call to action. I'm telling them what to do at the end of it. But it's starting with this whole story, so they're getting drawn into it, and that's worked really well. Yeah, and by the way, I should say that like one of my big tips, or one of my big secrets, is like those guys that are teaching you how to market. Not all of them, but I shouldn't say most of them, but some of them are like the best marketers in the world, right? So like for me, like my mentor is Russell Brunson. So like go check out Russell Brunson, do whatever he does, right? There's a few really good ones. So like find those guys and like get on their list, get pixeled, see what kind of ads they're running, because that's where I get a lot of my ideas from those guys. So like I love getting spam because I'm like, okay, what's the email, how are they telling these stories? How are they doing this stuff? And most of the time that's where I'm getting my idea for like, all right, well, let me try that too.
Yeah. What are some other resources that really help you as you move towards becoming kind of an expert in this field?
My number one mentor is this guy, Russell Brunson. He's got, go check out his books and stuff. And he's got a podcast and he's on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So that would be a great place to start. Start getting interested in stuff. Like for me, I listen to a bunch of podcasts. I listen to a bunch of like marketing and business podcasts. So, I listen to, Pat Flynn has a podcast. Amy Porterfield, Mixergy is actually pretty dope. It's a pretty big podcast I was just on recently, which was like super cool. But it's a great podcast. Like check it out. So finding, listening to these podcasts, just kind of diving into it, and it'll kind of take you on a little bit of a journey, from there. Will you hear somebody mention like, oh, that sounds cool, and kind of follow up and learn about that.